Hey everybody, I'm here with one of the members of the Fitness Business Mentorship group, and we're going to chat a little bit about your experience that you've had in your first couple of months within the program. So I want to let you start off and just introduce yourself, tell us who you are, what you do, and how long you've been in the fitness and nutrition space.
So my name is Caroline Turnbull, and I am a full-time engineer, and then I'm also doing this fitness program as a side job. So I was a Division I athlete, so health and fitness has always been a part of my regime and like important to me. But it wasn't until after actually I was a D1 athlete that I realized how much of an impact it can have on just your day-to-day life. So I only really saw it in terms of strength when I would lift. And I didn't really look at nutrition at all because I had a fast metabolism and I was working out an insane amount as a Division I athlete, and also similar just collegiate athletes. It's kind of your job to work out. And so I never really thought too much about it. And then once I stopped and I didn't have like someone telling me what to do, I kind of had to figure it out on my own. And I also was in this mindset that healthy meant skinny.
Sure.
And that was like very not at all accurate. So that idea of trying to get as small as possible was like in my mind. And I went through that for like 5 months maybe. And then at one point, I love food. I'm a huge foodie. I've been like that at the age of like 5. My mom said I was like ordering steak off the menu. And so I definitely am someone who really enjoys food. And so after, I think it was like 4 months, it could have been more than that, but of extreme restricting, I was getting so upset because every time I tried eating normally again, I would gain weight. And I was like, this can't be possible. What I'm doing must not like be correct. And so I actually hired my own fitness coach, and she really helped me learn about nutrition and not restricting yourself and eating. And then the workouts were a bit easier for me to understand with my background as a Division I athlete. But it was really the nutrition that blew my mind with how much of a difference it made in both my performance as an athlete, but then also in my mental well-being, and also in the fact of like it helped me lose fat and get toned.
Yeah.
And lose. It was crazy. And so I was eating twice as much as I had been normally, and I wasn't gaining any weight, and it was really nice. And my mental state of well-being was completely different. My hormone levels were much better. And like during COVID, I definitely did not want to have like my hormones all over the place. I had enough to stress about. So that's kind of what brought me into wanting to take it over on my own. I definitely am someone who wants to be self-sufficient. And so I wanted to be able to understand how what she was telling me to do, why she was telling me to do all this. And then I also just, with being an engineer, the way the body takes in the food and reacts during workouts reminds me a lot of like a machine. And it just all clicked and made a lot of sense to me. So once that started happening and all those understandings started clicking in my brain, I was like, this is a huge passion of mine. I've never felt something as strongly connected to like health and wellness as I had before. So I then started doing now some certifications, and I started just researching and listening to documentaries, podcasts, reading books on it. And I was just obsessed. And then in a healthy way, of course. And so that was really fun. And then I wanted to help other people because after realizing how detrimental that restrictive dieting was for me, I noticed all around me that so many people were also in that kind of mindset of, I just can't really eat for the next 2 months and I'll lose this weight. And then I'll go on my vacation and then I'll gain all the way back. And then I have to not eat for another 2 months. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how brainwashed. And my specific audience would be females because I can relate more so to the societal pressures. But I just couldn't believe how many brilliant women around me and strong and powerful women around me were just allowing society to tell them not to eat. And so that blew my mind. And I was one of those people. And I was like, I need to help them. So that's my background.
Looking at you, starting doing coaching online and starting your own business, what were some of the things that you were struggling with or having a hard time with prior to joining the fitness business mentorship program, specifically trying to grow your own business?
So a few things. So one was the commitment of doing it, like making an Instagram or making that like LinkedIn page and actually following through with my passion. There's like a bit of fear. So I'm 24 years old. At the time I was 23. There was a bit of, I was almost embarrassed that I was doing this. I was like, oh, I'm just going to be another person telling people to follow their lifestyle. And so I was a little embarrassed to like get it started. And I think it was a bit of that, like I didn't believe in myself, and I was afraid of what other people would think of me. And so it was, I feel like I was half in it. And I always had like the engineering. So I was like, oh, like, I think my biggest issue was that I didn't have the commitment for it, and I didn't have any stake in my own game, that no matter, it was almost like a safety net that I put up for myself, whereas like, if I do fail, who cares? Like, no one really knew about it anyways. So it was like, I was allowing myself to kind of seem like I was going to fail, because I was so afraid of failing that I didn't want to just dive all the way in. So that was, I think, the biggest barrier for me. It was just, I didn't have the commitment. I didn't have any stake in the game. And I gave myself too big of a safety net to even like move.
How did joining this program help with some of the fears, insecurity, the imposter syndrome of feeling like you didn't belong? How did joining this program help you overcome some of that? Because I know what you've been doing these last weeks and months, and I know that that's not necessarily the case as much anymore.
Yeah, so I think joining, well, one, the idea of like, not that there wasn't a safety net, because especially joining this group, there are so many people that I can learn from and get from. Like, I mean, we meet like once or twice a week. We go over all my issues. And there is that sort of safety net, but in terms of like owning myself, or like owning what I want and like owning the passions that I have, I took that safety net away by joining this program, because I was like, okay, if I'm joining this program, I have to do this. Like, this is something that I'm going to do. And that was something that Samim had talked to me about, saying, you can't, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for this. I don't know. And he was like, if you're wanting to do this, you have to commit to yourself. And I was like, okay, like I'm doing it. And so I committed to myself, and I committed to the thoughts that I had, and I committed to the passions that I had. And I mean, you guys have obviously opened your arms and like helped me with everything. And so I think getting that confidence, and also that first post out that was like, okay, hey guys, I'm doing this. That was so hard for me to do. It was like if someone were like dragging me and like forcing me to do it, that was so hard for me. But and like, you had so much, like helped me so much to gain the confidence to just do it. You're like, literally post it, Caroline, next time we meet, you better have this posted.
Yep, absolutely. Yes, I remember that conversation.
And I did it, and it was like, it was crazy, because I was expecting, and I think I'm someone that expects the worst. So like, when the worst happens, I'm like, oh, well, I knew this was going to happen. But it was like so opposite of what was the truth. And it showed me that you have to be your authentic self in order to succeed, because if you're trying to fake it, it's never going to work. People are going to catch on, or they're just going to feel that this is just not something that's true to you. And I just had like the reactions that I had from so many people, and then also like all the help that you guys have brought me, like it was incredible, and I'm really grateful for the decision.
Looking at getting through that first post and being very consistent and very thought through on the content and targeting the right folks, can you talk a little bit about some of the successes that you've had in the last for the last 3 or 4 weeks? But can you talk about some of the things that have happened, and I'll kind of let you tell that story about your first high ticket client.
Yeah, so I think mainly it was because of how authentic I was. So I know out in the social media world, there's like a level of perfection when it comes to health and wellness. And being a full-time engineer, I don't have time for being perfect. I don't. But that's kind of my niche, I guess, is you can still be healthy, and you can still have like a well-rounded and well-balanced like nutrition and health without being perfect. And so that's kind of like my niche. so I think people really related to that, and they're like, she knows exactly what I'm going through. Like, she knows that I don't have 5 hours in the morning to dedicate to my health and wellness routine. She knows that I get up
Right.
before the sun rises, so I can't go for that 15-minute sunrise walk. And so so I think that that idea that I understand the struggle of what they're going through is what helped me. And I was like authentic in my posts. Like, I don't try and pretend that I have like the perfect routine or anything like that. I just am honest in all of my posts and saying, this is what I do. This is what works for me. The only reason it's working for me is because it's tailored to me. And so I'm very honest with like all that kind of information. And so I think that, and it also, I mean, specifically to the mentorship and the, like what my posts are, that is like a big thing that you guys tell us to do is like, know who you want to help and tailor your pick, like your post to that, like people that you want to help. The people I want to help are people like me. And so it's like, it's easier for me to make those posts. But I think that earlier, before I even joined the mentorship, I had an Instagram account that was posting about that, but I was following what other people were doing. I was kind of making posts based on like what other people like have done and have been successful with. And it just never, had no passion. Like, I had no interest on the next post or something like that. Like, again, I didn't really have much stake in the game because it wasn't who I was. And so, yeah.
You've been able to define who you want to work with, the types of people that you want to work with, and how you want to work with them. And you had shared you're relatively new into the fitness and nutrition training game to begin with. And I think that only goes to show the power of talking to the right people with the right message to be able to land your first high ticket client within your first couple of months of actually, completing your certifications and really getting underway. I think that's an important piece to know, that you don't have to have years and years and years and years of experience to be successful in an online realm and work with the high ticket sales, but you do have to be very focused.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, for anyone who's going to listen to this, I technically started doing not full-time, a side gig of health and wellness in September of 2021, and we're in April of 2022.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I did have to really get down, like say, I'm going to do this. And it has been work. But again, like, I'm passionate about this, so it doesn't really feel like work for me. But I've been busy, and I've had to like keep a very, very detailed schedule of how I'm going to achieve all this stuff. And you guys have given me the tools to create that schedule and know what to do at what time and like how to get it done correctly and have it done well. And so if anyone's thinking that they can't do this because they don't have experience, well, the experience only starts once you start. So like, you can't really have experience until you start. So
I love that. Looking at the types of things that we've been working on within the fitness business mentorship and building your business, knowing the time constraints you have, what have been the top, even one or two things that have really helped move the needle to get you over some of the self-consciousness you were having, and to get you over that hump to get high ticket client sales very early on in your fitness and nutrition career?
Probably the mentors. Like, we have you guys. I mean, anytime I have a question or I'm not sure about something, it's just a message away or even a FaceTime away. And all my questions are always answered. And so that gives me confidence. And it also kind of makes, and we also have a group with other mentors in the program, and they're talking about what they've learned, their do's and don'ts or their lessons learned. And so seeing that other people that maybe have a bit more experience than I do are kind of going through similar situations and have similar questions as they're entering the program, that gives me the confidence or reassurance that, okay, like, I can do this. And
you're on the right track.
Yeah, I'm on the right track. And also, I mean, in our last call or 2 calls ago, I was like, my mind was just kind of all scattered, and I was like, I don't even know where I'm supposed to be at this point. And you just like very much easily planned it out and said, okay, like, you are here, like, you want to go here, or like, here you are. And so you helped me figure out a schedule of, and like see what I've done and kind of be like, oh, nicely done, like, pat on your back, and then here's where we want to go. And so I think that literally the mentorship and everyone in the program is what got me through the beginning.
Good. I appreciate you sharing that. My final question, and of course, all testimonials and interviews have to end with this question. But you and I talked about this. What would you tell someone that was sitting in your same shoes a few months ago that is maybe on the fence of whether they do or they don't want to take that leap of faith and join in a program?
So I would say I have like two things. So because I took that leap of faith.
Yeah.
I'm a recent graduate of college. I'm a full-time engineer, and I didn't want to stop that career, but I also wanted to start a new career. So you're never going to regret investing in yourself, because that is an investment that will return for your entire life and your entire career. So I would say that would be my biggest kind of push, is if this is something that you want to do, your first investment should always be something that goes towards yourself, because again, that will be a return investment your entire life.
Yeah.
And then also, if you can't half-ass something, you can't half jump into something, you have to full-blown jump into it if you want to do it, or else you will not get results. So those are my things.
I totally agree. I think your story is going to resonate with a lot of people, because you had all of the reasons not to take that first step, and you chose to take that first step, and now it is paying dividends early on and is building this out so that this can be, a continued passion forever for you. So I appreciate you sharing a little bit of your backstory, giving us some insight to trials, tribulations, and a lot of success so far. So I thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. I'm glad to.
Absolutely. All right. Boom.
Cool. That was easy.